Before the sun rises on Hilton Head Island, the palmetto breeze makes its morning drop-off, bringing janitors, housekeepers, and other blue-collar workers from all across the Low Country to service one of America's premier resorts. Hilton Head Island is full of industry, world-class golf courses, and businesses. The rural areas inland from Hilton Head are not. They are some of the poorest areas in the state. Many of these commuters are parents. They commute sometimes 3 hours round trip every day because there's little to no work at home. At home, there's often desolation in the churches, stores, and schools.
Yeah, the kids can't see online.
Amber Marshall teaches second grade at one of those poor schools. She teaches at Barnville Elementary in Hampton School District 1.
Yours is one of the oldest homes in the building.
Amber and a coworker try to work out 4 times a week in the old music room. You can see the DVD player on the cart playing an old Zumba recording. The setting may seem a bit antiquated, but Amber and her coworker have few options.
I think so.
We just can't afford a gym.
Lack of options is a common theme among poor rural schools. Over 85% of the students at Barnville Elementary are impoverished, which can make things like generating money for electronics very difficult. And even when they do get electronics, they can't afford the charging cards to use them.
We have laptops for every second grader. We just do not have the cart to plug them in. So we have them, we just have no access to them. They haven't ever been turned on.
Here are those unused laptops, stacked neatly in their boxes, unopened in the makeshift Zumba room.
Scaredy squirrels.
It's a completely different story for Cynthia Jeffrey, a second grade teacher at Coosa Elementary School, just a few miles up the road in Beaufort County.
We have all the resources at our disposal. I mean, so many resources, in my opinion, that I get overwhelmed.
Even things like their in-class library are completely different.
You look at mine, I have a ton of books here, and it's been that way since I've been in Beaufort County.
Back at Barnville Elementary, Amber's library also looks well stocked for a second grade classroom, but there's a catch.
I opened up an Amazon credit card and I just went ahead and spent like $900 and put that on the credit card and maxed it out.
So you said a lot of them don't have books at home?
No, and some of these kids, even I'll send this stuff home and they never touch it. And one of the kids came in recently and he's like, my mom won't sign my reading log. I'm like, well, I said, if you read the books, you can sign it. I said, if you read them, I said, just be responsible. And I talked to my guidance counselor about that. And so she'll pull him so that he has somebody to read to. Because that's important for them and it makes them feel special. But he's like, my mom won't read books with me.
The poverty levels within the community can also create behavioral issues in the classroom.
A lot of emotional issues. I would say out of my class of 20 that I have, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids at seats that really can't sit with other children.
In contrast, Cynthia requested extra money to purchase flexible seating for her classroom to help students stay focused and engaged while learning.
They come willing and ready to learn.
Industry, areas with it and areas without it, impacts all aspects of education because the taxes generated from local industry largely fund the surrounding schools. The public education system in South Carolina relies heavily on local funding, and here's how it's broken down. The state provides 46%, the federal government only contributes 9%, and the remaining 45% comes from the local economy. This only covers things like operational costs, such as turning on the lights and hiring teachers and principals. It does not cover updating or maintaining buildings or providing technology for students. Areas like Beaufort County have no problem generating additional income as they have ample industry, but Hampton County simply cannot afford to raise their taxes. And when school districts can't afford to raise their taxes, they often go without repairs and electronics.
Because there's a great disparity in our districts on who can provide online courses, access to devices by students. A lot of states, every student has access, not in this state.
Education funding in South Carolina has been a decades-long issue. In 1993, 40 school districts filed a lawsuit against the state arguing that the funding formula was unconstitutional. 21 years later, in 2014, the case was decided and the schools who sued were awarded millions of dollars for building repairs so that they would meet what the court declared a minimally adequate standard. 3 years later, in 2017, the South Carolina Supreme Court reversed the decision, saying that education funding is for the State House to decide, not the courts. The 24-year court battle is over, But the issue of inadequate funding is not. For Carolina News, I'm Brooke Rakowski.